Here is a moment in time in the history of the AFL. Absolutely awesome.
You're watching the Outer Sanctum.
I am so excited about the Brownlow. I love Brownlow night. You know when they're reading out the names, when they do what I like to call the Frankenfurter, which is where they leave you hanging with the name in anticipation.
I see you shiver with anticipation.
I don't know if you guys remember this, but in high school, my sports teacher was Mark Choco Williams. And yes, and the day after Brownlow, I ran up to him and I said, "You did so well on the Brownlow." He goes, "I got 3 votes." And I said, "I know, but there were 3 important votes."
I'm going to be watching for the battle of the Josh Kennedys.
Oh,
I want to see Sydney Josh Kennedy, West Coast Josh Kennedy.
What if it was a drawn Brownlow between the 2 Josh Kennedys?
I would find that very pleasing.
Would you?
It would make the Frankenfurter even more intense in those final rounds if you were getting a J. Kennedy.
West Coast.
I have a tip as well that is also about the watching of the event. So in 1999, I sat down with some mates to watch it and I thought, I'm hoping that Shane Crawford does well and polls well, and I had a bottle of tequila and I thought each time he gets a vote I'm going to have a shot. Crawford won the Brownlow in 99 and
You were admitted
Allegedly.
to
My tips are more about the on-the-field fashions, because you know I'm all about it. Was your favourite, like mine, the James Hird tartan number?
Borrowed from Humphrey B. Bear.
I believe so.
Remember when Nat Fyfe had a walking stick?
yes.
So that was a
Willy
nod
Wonka.
to fashion and function.
Nice.
And to Willy Wonka.
Do you love the Brownlow count?
Oh, I love the Brownlow.
How do you reckon they could improve it?
Well, I love the count, and the only way that they could improve it is if they got the actual count from Sesame Street to read the votes. So they were like, 2 votes for Joel Selwood, ha ha ha. 3 votes for Dangerfield, ha ha ha.
Wouldn't it be great if you could get a Brownlow vote for everything you did during the day? Nicole Hayes, looking at her book, 1 vote. Nicole Hayes, a little bit annoyed, 2 votes. Nicole Hayes, not talking to me, 3 votes.
Do you imagine that the Brownlow is actually brown?
Yeah, well it should be. It makes you think though, if you're going to name these awards after players, maybe they should actually look like the names of the players. I mean, you'd have a white cross.
Ah, a red path.
Yes, or green wood.
A gold sack?
Oh,
Oh,
no.
No, okay.
There's been so much jumper talk this week. I hate talking about clash jumpers, especially because I actually hate Hawthorn's clash jumper more than anything in the whole world. I saw someone this week had edited Hawthorn getting the Premiership Cup, and they had Hodgie and Clarko. Now wearing the clash, the Tin Man, the Power Rangers, horrible jumper, and how bad that would look on grand final day. You really want the traditional jumper. But it made me think again about where the inspiration came for that Power Rangers jumper. And you know, I'm convinced it was inspired by some flaxseed oil that I have in my cupboard.
I think there's some times in real life where a clash jumper is really useful. I don't know, if you've ever tried to do school pickup with a whole heap of little kids in uniform with a big hat.
Yeah.
A clash jumper there would be very useful.
Oh, yeah.
Really interesting thing this week though has been that Gil McLachlan's been talking about how they will decide who has to wear the clash jumper if it reaches this. And so he said that they could have a coin toss or maybe an arm wrestle. But he also said, there's got to be some fairness in it too, who gets to decide, who gets to choose heads or tails. And I just thought this could just go on for forever, you have to have a coin toss to work out who gets to draw the short straw, who gets to pick who's in the arm wrestle, who gets the tug. So I just think what we need to do is cancel all of the pre-match entertainment, no meatloaf, no nothing, and just no reserves finals, start at 8 a.m, and just have an all-day
Coin toss.
arm wrestle
A
followed by a
decathlon.
short straw, but exactly a decathlon, tug of war, etc. in the lead up to who decides then who wears the clash jumper.
Couldn't we just cancel like 15 early rounds and just distill the whole season down to a coin toss?
Absolutely.
In extra time.
Yeah, why not?
With the jumpers though, remember how confusing it was at the end of the grand final and they'd swap jumpers. For years I didn't understand who won and the photos often would be with the wrong team.
When that's even more confusing is when they would switch jumpers and the coverage was in black and white.
Yes.
All of a sudden I'm like, I don't know who anyone is.
North Melbourne, Hawthorn, not sure.
It's terribly confusing.
How do you feel about putting on someone's jumper at the end of a football match?
This is what I
sweat.
the sweat and the stench and the blood and everything. It's so wrong.
At least it's not shorts. Imagine they just swapped shorts.
Oh, thank God they got that tradition right.
Peggy, we have some very serious business to go through today. This is our first ever official boardroom version of Omen Watch.
Oh.
Do you have a sense of what's going to happen over the next couple of weeks?
I know what I would like to happen, but I don't have a crystal ball, you
Well,
know.
it's funny that you mentioned that. We don't have a crystal ball, but we do have a magic 8 ball. This is brand new, not yet out of the packet, and so I can guarantee that it's never gotten anything wrong. What would you like to ask it, Peggy?
Is Dustin going to win the Brownlow?
Let's see. You may rely on it.
Well, I'll tell him that it's done.
It's done.
Yeah, they don't even have to broadcast it. It's done.
Give it to him now.
Yes,
It goes for long enough anyway. It's so long and boring
That's
anyway.
right. We can just cut to the chase and have dinner.
Are you going to ask it the big one?
Does that mean Richmond will be in the grand final?
Oh, let's see. Signs point to yes. Peggy!
Good.
It's a win for
Good. It's a win
everyone.
for everybody.
Fabulous.
Well,
Well,
congratulations.
Well, we just can go on to October now. It's done.
Do you want to take
done.
this with you?
I do.
All done.
I do. I think this is.
Okay.
Yeah.
This can put a lot of minds at rest.
Yeah.
feel free as well to give this to Damien Hardwick when he's picking the team for the prelim final. It might help him to make some of those last minute, difficult selection decisions.
Well, I won't give him that one. He'll have to get his own.
Thanks, Peggy.
Thanks, Peggy.
You're more than welcome, and thank you for your advice.
There's a public holiday pre-grand final, but I think only in Victoria. But I think, I like a public holiday for a sports event because, why should religion and banks have all the fun?
There's a bit of controversy though, isn't there? Like, businesses are saying that Friday's one of their busiest days and really we should move the holiday. And I think there's a really easy and simple way to get around that. I think you turn it into more like an RDO for the competing teams. So you only get the public holiday if your team's in the grand final.
Yes.
Just make that week a little bit more special for
Work
you.
more parochial.
Yeah, I like it.
I
Everyone
like
else,
that.
go to work. You've got nothing to see here.
And you have to register in advance so that you don't just sort of suddenly say,
teams.
I'm
Catching a bandwagon to work. Yeah.
There's been all that talk about the public holiday before the grand final, but I think the more important question is what we should do after the grand final. I reckon depending on who wins, if it's a team that's universally disliked, Prime Minister should declare like 3 days of national mourning. That's what I think is. I certainly feel like when Hawthorn's lost a grand final in the past, I would have appreciated some time.
Yeah.
Other people are celebrating though,
That's
that, right?
true.
That's true.
Could you use your own personal time for that?
Yeah, compassionate leave.
Yeah, I'm just wondering what the guidelines would be on that.
I am confused by the controversy though, because I've never heard people really get up in arms about having a holiday for the Queen's birthday. So by that logic, I feel like there's a whole lot of people who like the Queen better than they like football.
That can't be the case.
And
Can't be the case.
And let's be honest, who likes boxing?
Ticketing for the grand final. You know how I feel about ticketing issues. I just stab myself in the face. It's so boring. But people go to enormous lengths to get tickets, and I can see people out there like pretending that they're Collingwood members or whatever to try and procure one. Have you ever gone to crazy lengths to get a ticket?
It should be like Willy Wonka, where you've got the 5 magic tickets out there, or 500,000 maybe.
good idea.
But I have many years tried to get grand final tickets and paid an exorbitant price, but I've been a nana about it, because when I've got to the final, I've paid whoever a lot of money through friends of friends of friends. I get there and I turn around and the ticket only costs maybe a tenth of what you've paid. And I turn around and say, who usually sits here? Because they're scammers. They're naughty people. So I tell them off.
I like that. I actually like your idea of the golden ticket.
Yeah.
I'm thinking maybe if they popped some golden tickets in pies during the season. Not for you vegetarians, you can't come to the grand final. But for the rest of us, what if you found a golden ticket in your pie?
The problem with that, though, is that Veruca Salt always gets a ticket because her daddy buys her like
Veruca.
1,000 4 and 20s.
Yeah.
A million 4 and 20s, and I don't like that. I think that's unfair.
I liked the olden days where you would queue up and you knew where you were. Like you know, if you're lining up for tickets and you're, I remember counting, going, okay, I'm 20th in the queue. I think I'll be all right. Like everybody's at home, hopefully not queuing up for their own computer, but you've got no idea. I think I would prefer to know where I'm at in the queue rather than, screaming at my computer.
I feel like the system of having to register in a ballot, which you have to do with some memberships, pre-knowing whether your club's actually going to make the grand final, is just a massive issue in terms of the footy gods.
Oh, yeah.
Like, how you're trying to keep the lid on, but you have to take the lid a little bit off. Like, what do you do with that?
And it jinxes everything.
You're jinxing everything.
Yeah, it's a disaster.
And if they don't make it and if they lose, it's definitely your fault.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I'm the one buying your ticket. Thanks so much for hanging out with the Outer Sanctum today.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to finally meet everybody.
I'm just so interested. What's a US AFL media manager do?
So I do social media, I do correspondence because we get a lot of inquiries about the league as well on social media and through email. But I also work with the teams and I work with the players. So I do write-ups for the matches, I do previews, I do interviews with the players, I try and do player profiles.
So how does someone who's eating Philly cheesesteaks, you're in America, how did you fall in love with AFL?
So I think 1995 it was. I was a high schooler and I came home from school one day and I saw it on TV, and I had heard about Aussie Rules football before, but this was the first time I had seen it and I fell in love with it instantly. So I started following it a lot closer, especially once the internet came around. And then about 2007 I got involved with my local club, the Philadelphia Hawks. I went out to a grand final night and they were like, hey, what are you doing here? How'd you find out about us? And they said, you should play. And I said, well, my dad says I run like a pregnant giraffe, so I probably shouldn't. And
that's how we do it here.
That's how it is, yeah. And then I started playing and I eventually got involved as their media manager. And after a while, I got the attention of some of the folks on the US AFL board, and they were nice enough to think I was good enough to do it, and here I am.
Well, it's always been described as aerial ping pong. Do the Americans get it, and who's getting it?
They think it's rugby, but it's funny because, well, when I say Aussie Rules football, they go, oh, that's rugby. No, it's not rugby. Oh, soccer. No, it's not soccer. But you know what's funny is it was shown back on ESPN a lot in the 1980s, so you've got a lot of folks that are in, I guess, their 40s and their 50s.
Barracking for Hawthorn.
Barracking for Hawthorn, or Essendon, because they got, they wanted to sympathize with them losing to Hawthorn. There's a lot of Americans who follow Aussie Rules that don't know we have a league. There's a lot of Aussies here that don't know we have a league. So I describe it to Americans as a combination of soccer, football, rugby, basketball, volleyball, and a mosh pit.
Do you have any superstitions before a game, before you go out to kick or before watching a game?
When I was playing, I would always eat chicken for dinner because I knew if I ate anything heavier the next morning, I would be running. And I don't run that fast, as is evidenced by the giraffe remark. But I used to write little messages. Like my wife used to say, she used to give me pep talks, don't be afraid, be fearless, and just have fun. So I used to write those on my cleats as well.
At the Outer Sanctum, we always get people to sing the Phillies Hawks song. Come on, we've got to hear some.
Okay, so we don't do the Hawthorn Hawks because if I did Yankee Doodle, I would probably beat myself up. So
that's right.
So I'm going to need some help from this. So it's the Do-Wah Diddy.
Do-Wah Diddy.
So
right.
So when I point to you, you repeat what I say. So
okay.
It's here we come, gonna sweep you off the ground, singing Karn the Hawkers, we're the mighty Philly Hawks. Feathered warriors wearing spiffy gold and brown, singing Karn the Hawkers, we're the mighty Philly Hawks. We hit good.
Hit good.
We mark high.
Mark high.
We kick good, we mark high, and our tackles make them cry. And then we go, Hawks, 1, 2, boom, shaka waka waka, boom, shaka waka waka, boom, shaka waka waka, boom, and a nice out. And that's a fact, Jack.
That's a fact, Jack.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you for having me.